Among all the missions in Grand Theft Auto, San Andreas, one stands above the rest as the most frustrating, rage-inducing, and unforgettable challenge players have ever faced. Wrong Side of the Tracks is widely considered the hardest mission in the game, not because of complex objectives or overwhelming enemies, but because of how brutally unfair it feels to the player. Decades after the game's release, this single mission still sparks debates, memes, and shared trauma across the gaming community. The mission begins simply enough. CJ teams up with Big Smoke to chase down members of the Vagos gang who are escaping on a train after a botched deal. CJ rides a motorbike while Big Smoke sits on the back, tasked with shooting the enemies on top of the moving train. On paper, it sounds straightforward, but in practice, it becomes an exercise in frustration. The train moves at high speed, the bike controls can feel slippery, and Big Smoke's shooting accuracy is notoriously poor. No matter how skilled the player is, success depends heavily on positioning rather than skill, something the game never clearly explains. What makes the mission especially difficult is the misunderstanding most players have during their first attempts. Many naturally try to ride directly beside the train, believing this is the best angle for Big Smoke to shoot. Unfortunately, this position actually makes it harder for him to hit his targets. As a result, players can ride perfectly, avoid crashes, and still fail repeatedly because Big Smoke barely lands any shots. The mission timer runs out, the enemies survive, and the player is greeted with one of the most infamous lines in gaming history: "All we had to do was follow the damn train, CJ." Hearing this after multiple failures only adds to the humiliation. The environment also plays a role in why the mission feels so punishing. The railway path is filled with obstacles, narrow turns, and uneven terrain that can easily knock the bike off balance. One wrong move can send CJ flying off the bike, instantly failing the mission. The player must maintain high speed while also keeping perfect control, which is especially challenging given the physics of the game. Even experienced players can fail due to a single small mistake, making the mission feel less about mastery and more about luck. Another reason Wrong Side of the Tracks earns its reputation is its placement early in the game. At this point, many players are still adjusting to the controls, mechanics, and physics of San Andreas, which are more complex than previous GTA titles. Players haven't yet developed the muscle memory or confidence needed to handle high-speed chases with precision. Being thrown into such a demanding mission so early can feel overwhelming, especially for new players. Over time, the mission became legendary not just for its difficulty, but for its cultural impact. It has been parodied, referenced, and memified countless times. Players share stories of failing it dozens of times, quitting the game temporarily, or asking friends for help. Once players finally learn the trick of riding slightly ahead of the train rather than beside it, the mission suddenly becomes much easier, almost laughably so. This revelation highlights the mission's biggest flaw: it tests knowledge the player was never taught, rather than pure skill. In the end, Wrong Side of the Tracks remains the hardest mission in GTA San Andreas, not because it is impossible, but because it is unforgiving, poorly explained, and emotionally exhausting. It stands as a reminder that difficulty in games isn't just about challenge, but about fairness, clarity, and design. Even today, beating that mission feels like a rite of passage, a moment every San Andreas player remembers long after the credits roll.